Previously in Part 1, we followed the eerie and suspenseful tale of Don Shrum's encounter in the woods. Don found himself lost, witnessed unexplainable phenomena, and faced a transformation from hunter to hunted. The appearance of a mysterious craft, otherworldly beings, and a robotic figure set the stage for a surreal confrontation, with Don using his hunting skills and quick thinking in an effort to survive. Expect a gripping continuation of this extraordinary encounter. Witness Don's ingenuity and will to survive amidst the unnerving presence of alien beings and their technological prowess. Every moment is a battle for survival, with unexpected twists and revelations. As you tune into this episode of Deceptive Reality, brace yourself for a journey into the heart of the unknown.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Deceptive Reality Podcast. My name is Nick, and with me, as usual, is the true Pennybird.
Nick, you lied.
I lied.
You always say you do a hard one on the first one. The second one's always easy. What did you call me?
A true penny.
I have no clue what that is. That's a tough one, Nick.
Well, let's just split it up. You know what true is?
Yeah.
And you know what a penny is?
Yes.
So a true penny is someone who's reliable and you can count on them just like you can cold hard cash.
You can't with a penny no more. They're not even made out of copper, Nick.
That's true.
Those are fake pennies.
But then again, I don't know about in the United States, but in Canada, we don't have them anymore. So they can be kind of valuable here.
We don't have pennies. Here's the wheat penny.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, wheat penny's an old penny, Nick.
Oh.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah, we stopped dealing with that entirely. There's no pennies. They don't put them in circulation. They pulled them out of stores.
You know what? I've actually got a roll of wheat pennies. I bought it at Christmas time. I completely forgot about it.
Is it like
we just started talking about this? Is it what?
It's a collector's item, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it is for me now. I completely forgot I bought it. I've got it somewhere. Because I saw it on sale. I'm like, I need that in my life. I don't know why I needed it, but I needed it. Now I got it. It was like a 1930-something wheat penny, and is a whole roll of wheat pennies, apparently. Well, I know the first one's a wheat penny. Wheat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess, I don't know if I want to crack it open or not, but supposedly it's an entire roll, which could potentially be wheat pennies, potentially. And there's some valuable ones. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cards I was talking about.
Yeah, I would have cracked it already. I would already know what's in there.
Also, you sons of guns, where's the answers to our questions from part 1?
We need to know. And if you've provided them, thank you. But anyone who hasn't, get on it.
We know. We've been watching. But obviously, banger of a story.
Mm-hmm.
This part of the story is where Nick really got kind of surprised. Okay, it's a little bit of a surprising story.
Yeah, it gets shocking. Trust me,
very much
shocking.
So. But listen, it's been a week. You need a refresher, so check this out.
Yeah.
This is the tale of Don Shrum, a man whose ordinary hunting expedition spiraled into an extraordinary saga of survival and mystery. One fateful night in 1964, a year marked by space races and Cold War tensions, Don's pursuit of game led him into an unexpected confrontation. As twilight descended upon the forest, what began as a routine hunt transformed into a surreal confrontation with the unknown. Amidst the stillness of the night, Don encountered more than just the shadows of the woods. He came face to face with a presence both enigmatic and unnerving. Lights danced in the dark, defying explanation, and figures, not of this world, emerged, setting the stage for a night that would challenge the very fabric of Don's reality.
Forest, his sanctuary, had transformed into a stage for the unexplained. In this moment, under the canopy of twilight, Don stood at the threshold of the extraordinary. The hunt had taken a turn, veering into realms not marked on any map, and as the light continued its enigmatic dance, Don was unwittingly stepping into a night that would forever alter his grasp on reality.
It gives me the shivers sometimes listening to these parts here. I almost looked up at one point. What's
going on up there?
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, I'm glad I caught myself. I'd feel real dumb if he saw me do that.
Don, seasoned in the hunt, now found himself ensnared in an unprecedented game of survival. His grip tightened around the bow, a primitive yet comforting defense against the incomprehensible entities below. As time warily trudged forward, the chill of the night permeated his bones. Yet it was not the cold that kept Don alert, but a torrent of fear and adrenaline coursing through his veins. In a startling disruption of the night's eerie calm, a new, more daunting presence emerged. From the vicinity of the mysterious craft, a figure approached its gait rigid, its form imposing. This was no living creature, but a construct of metal and unknown technology, moving with a precision that suggested advanced intelligence. Moonlight glinted off its metallic surface, casting an otherworldly glow, while a mechanical whirring haunting in its monotony accompanied its movements. Don's eyes widened as he beheld this robotic entity.
Have you been out in like forest areas or woods as it starts to get like dark?
Oh yeah, constantly.
So remember, it's 1960s. So if at best he had a compass and he had a flashlight, so he's trying to find his way to this rendezvous point, right? Even if you're an experienced hunter, sometimes you can get lost. Now think about it. You see something that you can't explain and you're trying to navigate a woods that maybe you've been to, maybe not so many times. Right. And you're like, did I just pass that tree for the 9th time? Like that looks the same. You know what I'm saying?
Plus everything's lit differently than you would expect too. So that can cast interesting shadows where there might not have been before.
Correct. So he is technically kind of lost. It's 100% self-diagnosis. But like if you read the description of an OCD person, that's mostly me.
At work, they tell me I am because I have this little ritual that I have to do, or a series of little things that I have to do to make the day go properly. One is we've got 2 doors. We've got one on the side, one on the front. You must always enter through the side door and exit through the front door. Otherwise, bad luck, right? So that's 100%. Not OCD. That's just controlling fate.
Correct.
Now, if I go to the bathroom or to the kitchen or something, when I come back, I've got to tap the lid of each of the garbage cans because we have recycling here. And then I've got to tap with the same hand the back of every cubicle as I go. But again, not OCD. That's just controlling luck.
You're looking and it's gone. Because you're like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing?
Yeah, like, remember I told you before the story of that thing I saw, like that creature on the side of the road. I wasn't sure I saw it till probably 10 minutes later. Like, because it was just so abnormal. So I can totally empathize with everyone who's been in these situations and not got any footage. I'm just saying, because I'm experienced now and I'm paranoid, I'm not going to be that guy next time. I'm going to be the guy with a really good, high quality iPhone 13 shot on a gimbal. Like, I'm getting it.
Don Shrum realized the grave truth. These enigmatic visitors, with their inexplicable craft and robotic ally, were not mere explorers of this earthly domain. They were hunters, and he, unnervingly, was their quarry. The robotic figure, with its methodical and unyielding approach, joined the others in a relentless pursuit, its actions suggesting a pursuit fueled by purpose rather than curiosity. In a defiant act of self-preservation, Don armed himself with his trusty bow and arrows, primitive yet familiar tools in this surreal confrontation. He understood the futility of these weapons against such advanced adversaries, but they offered a sliver of hope, a tangible resistance against the unknown. With a steady hand driven by desperation, he released an arrow toward the robotic being. The arrow's impact was met with a chilling indifference. The creature paused, only to resume its search with an unwavering resolve. As the situation escalated towards an unseen zenith, A spark of ingenuity flickered within Don. Remembering the matches in his pocket, he hastily constructed a makeshift torch from the forest's offerings. The flame, birthed from his trembling hands, became a beacon of defiance. He hurled the torch towards the interlopers, the fire catching swiftly, casting a revealing and ghostly illumination upon the scene. For a fleeting moment, the fire's glow unveiled the haunting visage of the craft and its occupants. The visitors, momentarily taken aback, soon regrouped with a chilling determination. They deployed a new, more insidious tactic, a gas-like substance aimed at weakening Don's resolve and his grip on safety. As the vapors ascended, Don's senses began to betray him. His vision blurred, his consciousness waned, and he slipped into unconsciousness, held aloft only by the belt that secured him to the tree.
Oh, boy. This does remind me a lot of Predator. I wonder if they heard this story.
I mean, who knows? The way some stories start out, I mean, very possible. But here's what's crazy about this story. And you and I talked about a little bit Hopkinsville when we talked about Hopkinsville, right?
Mm-hmm.
We said, how does an alien on top of a roof grab someone by the hair of their head and then pull them up?
Right.
And we came to the conclusion, what if it was like a sentient being or like a robot? So they're just working it remotely from wherever they are.
Right. And we heard that metal sound when they got shot too, if you remember from that case. Yeah.
Correct. So there's a correlation between Hopkinsville and this story.
Yeah. So maybe I spoke wrong before. I have heard another tale where there might have been robots from the craft.
Oh, really?
Talking about Hopkinsville.
Oh, yeah.
Because we never had an explanation of what that sound was. There was never an explanation of it. Only that they shot this thing. It was a metal sound, and the thing shortly after got up again. Correct.
And if you think about it, like he's using a bow and arrow from the 60s, so it's clearly, I highly doubt it definitely was not a broadhead. Like he's not, I mean, I'm trying to think as a hunter, like what would he have had? That's a tricky one. I'm not sure.
I'll give it to him. He's real resourceful, though.
Oh, yeah.
He's making all the right moves as far as working with what you've got in a friggin' weird situation.
Correct. I believe I saw somewhere he had a military background.
That would explain a lot.
Which would explain a lot. Like if he's being very methodical about how he's going about this. Now think about it. This is how I'm looking at it, Nick. So he's out in the woods. He's by himself because he split off from his buddies, trying to find his way back, sees this UFO, and now he's lost because who wouldn't be lost after that? Sees the UFO again, now coming down, climbs a tree, and the first thought he has is, let me use this belt to lock me in.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that. I'm going to tell you firsthand, listen, I'm resourceful. Now I might, because I was like, man, Don did that in that store. Maybe I should.
Yeah. I've got the perfect belt for that too. So I'm prepared if this happens.
Nick's got it going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do not.
A very similar kind to what he has, I think.
So I have ratchet belts. Those are my favorite ones. It's like when you put them on, they go click, 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 click. Have you seen those?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen those.
The reason I like those the most is because, like regular belts that have the holes in it, you never find the perfect hole.
That's right. That's right.
Now, the ones that you can just kind of pull and they lock in place, I like those too, because then you always have a comfortable fit, which is perfect because they have that comfortable fit. You always find the right spot.
Yeah, and you can't pull that off either. Like you can't, like it locks in good. So.
Right. And that's the thing, like being in my line of business, because we wear dress pants.
Yeah.
The typical belt has holes in it.
Yeah, I hate those so much.
And I hate them because you can't ever, to find a belt that has the perfect hole, good luck.
Right. That's why I guess they sell hole punches, but then you've got a really weird uneven belt.
Yeah.
With extra holes, and that's no good.
That's no good. Because what if it's only slightly off?
Right. Then you've got
double. Then you're weakening it. You're weakening the belt too.
Yeah. This is fashion advice from Bert and Nick.
Deceptive.
Get a little bit of everything
reality
here.
podcast. Exactly. You get it all. You get Aussie stuff. You get belt and fashion sense. Man.
Survival info.
And the bulk of our YouTube listeners are male. So that works.
Yeah.
That's a win. Listen, guys.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. We're coming out with a new belt line.
Yeah. We should. And it should have a special tree loop.
It should. A specific. That's true. That's funny. Though it's weird, Nick says that we have mostly female viewers on everything else, but YouTube, by golly, the men come through.
Weird. Yeah, I don't know why it's like that. On all our other platforms, it's like overwhelmingly, I'm talking like 98% female. So it's almost the opposite from YouTube, I guess.
You know what it is they come to YouTube and they see our ugly mugs and they go, yeah, I'm not going there.
Yeah, get out of here. We better get to the other platforms. We can't take this.
We can't see them, but
we
can listen to them.
We want the info, not the looks.
Exactly. Listen, we got faces made for radio.
That's right. That's right. So if you can't stand to look at us, please do join us on our other platforms.
Exactly. We got other platforms for you. We won't be there. Trust us. We're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, for all you guys out there, that's a little fashion advice. Get the ratchet belts. That's where it's at.
You never know when you might be up a tree.
Comfortable. Oh yeah, because if you're up in a tree, you need a ratchet.
Yeah.
But so he's up in this tree. He's locked himself in. He sees these aliens scanning for him, and he says they're scanning, which means this is why I added the sound effect. Almost sounded like scanning.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Now, I don't know if you guys caught this or not. I also added some alien noises, almost like they're talking back and forth too.
Yeah, I found that particularly creepy. So thank you for that.
Well, I was thinking to myself, they're clearly talking to each other.
Yeah. So my impression is that they're trying all their tricks, but they still don't know he's in the tree, even though they inadvertently affected him with the gas.
But think they found him with the gas. Technically, if he went completely limp.
They got him with the gas.
Yeah, but if he went completely limp and you just have a belt holding you up, what do? You fall backwards and now you're making noise up in a tree. It's a pine tree.
Yeah,
There's no foliage.
That's right. I think they think he's on the ground though. So I don't think they knew he was in the tree. I think they got him accidentally.
I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah. And if that belt holds tight and it's really tight against the tree, he might not. He might just slowly go limp. And maybe, well, you know how this goes, so I ain't arguing with you.
I don't know, Nick. Listen, but this first I've heard the story.
He could be okay, is all I'm saying. Like, if you didn't have previous knowledge to this, he might be okay.
It's very true.
But I guess that's something that I'll have to find out later.
Well, and that's what makes this story so interesting. I've never heard another UFO story with the exception of Hopkinsville, where someone truly is fighting the aliens, right? Like now think about it. You've used a bow.
Oh yeah.
He's pulling this thing back and releasing an arrow. Now he's an avid hunter. They've made that very clear. But you're in a tree doing a freaking William Tell.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do, like they're not, unlike us who use compound bows with a release mechanism. You're basically pulling back and releasing. Like it's literally like a one movement. Like you're not pulling back and holding.
Right.
So it's a different world all the way around for him.
Yeah, I see the mistake he made there. Like he hasn't made many mistakes. Because I would have gone for one of the meaty ones. I know I can't shoot a robot with an arrow. Come on.
Well, and here's the funny part. When you said I'd have fought the aliens, I already knew this part was coming up. I'm like, that's Nick up in the tree right now.
Yeah. But you saw my reaction there. But yeah, I'm not going to shoot the robot. I'm going to shoot one of the meaty ones because I know I can probably hurt them.
The flesh pockets.
Yeah. I'm going to shoot those meat bags down there.
Well, and he did something I wouldn't have done. I don't think I would have attacked the aliens. Because here's the thing.
Well, at that point, I was kind of surprised. Like, once he saw the robots, I was like, maybe I wouldn't at that point.
I mean, he must have felt as though he was in some form of a danger. Now, here's the thing. And I'm sure you've probably passed out before, right? Being like sick or something. Actually. You've never passed out? Like even sickness and stuff?
I ask people how common it is. Because from watching movies and TV, I thought, people pass out quite frequently, but I've never done it.
Wow.
So it is common then, is what you're telling me.
I've passed out from conflicts. That's how I'll put it. And then one time I got so sick with a viral infection that it's actually a funny story. Jess and I was just like relatively newly moved in to this house. We just had our daughter. She went to West Virginia to visit her dad, I believe. Yeah, it was her dad. And it was just like a day trip. Like she was leaving like Saturday morning, coming back Sunday morning. And I had a viral infection. I didn't feel good. So I'm like, I'm just going to, I have to work anyway. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I'm like, man, I got to go to the bathroom. So I get up. Like, I didn't feel great. I got to the bathroom. I'm like, I'm about to pass out. And then I wake up.
So does it just feel like you're going to sleep?
It's literally like it starts closing in on you. So from the sides, your vision literally from the sides start caving in and going black. Now, what's funny is when I woke up and, like I'm laying on the tile. Now, while I'm sitting there, I see like this outline. And what happened was, because I thought about it, I fell face first onto the linoleum floor, broke my nose.
Oh, no.
So I was laying in a puddle of my own blood.
Jeez, that's gruesome. I'm glad I'm not passing out then.
Well, here's the best part. So I get up and I'm like washing my face off and stuff. But when I got up, I put my hand down to pick myself up, got blood on my hand. And I'm like stumbling to get back to the couch, and I'm putting handprints on the wall, walking as I'm going.
Oh my goodness.
So the next morning, Jess comes in, she goes, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" I'm like, "What? I don't feel good." She goes,
which I think is a natural reaction to this.
She's like, "What's these bloody handprints?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know my hand had blood on. I'm sorry." Oh, so I've had it happen. That's the only time I've passed out due to sickness. Yeah. Now, obviously, if you get choked out, you pass out.
Yeah.
You got two options: tap out, pass out. Pass me out, son. I'm not going to tap. I don't tap.
It's funny now. You got me thinking about this because I went to this place where people were trying to learn, Brazilian jiu-jitsu back when MMA was at its like height and stuff like that. And I got put in a chokehold, and the guy kept saying, he's like, "If you don't tap out, I'm gonna put you out." And I wasn't, because I didn't feel like I was in any danger of that. I couldn't see how he was gonna put me out. So he kept doing that, and I didn't pass out, but it popped off a little bit of my jawbone that was inside my cheek for the longest time.
He had it locked.
But I wonder if maybe he must have. But people tell me it's common that people pass out
in MMA fighting,
in the world in general.
If I came up behind you, I could knock you out in about 8 seconds.
Yeah, I've never had it happen.
Yeah. So what happens in MMA? He had it clearly wrong. The crutch where your elbow comes in, that goes right here.
Right.
And what happens is you're not cutting off the air. You can, but that's not how this is supposed to work.
It's like pinching a vein or something, or
both your
like
veins,
that, isn't it?
Right here. Right. So what happens is it sits on this part of your forearm and it sits on this part of your bicep. And when you flex and turn, it puts those
Right.
muscles right against it, and it cuts off the blood vessels, and then you just go limp. You go completely out. He didn't have it locked in.
I've seen people do it.
My guess is
all the
more than
time.
likely what happened was someplace your chin or your jaw got in place, and he would have felt that, so he just didn't know what he was doing. But what happens is he got it in there, and the problem is if you don't have both locked on both sides of you're not going to pass out, because you'll always have blood flow. Yeah, you'll always have blood flow to one, and that doesn't work.
So see, what you might not know about me is, you know how people have like veins and internal organs and stuff like that. I'm just
Nick doesn't
meat
have
all
meat.
the way through.
Yeah,
I'm just meat.
exactly. He's
No
just solid
bones or
meat.
anything. I'm
Correct.
just solid steak all the way through. Steak and fat.
So my previous statement's incorrect. I would not have knocked you out, but if you were a normal human, 8 seconds, knocked out. I've timed
I'm a
it.
cold cut, basically.
We've timed it. We've timed it in MMA class.
Yeah.
If I lock something in, I can have them out in about 8 seconds.
Yeah, I saw it happen to one guy because I was at work, and the guy said, "Oh, I don't believe that can knock you out." And the guy put his arm around his neck, and he was out so quick we all thought he was joking.
Yeah, you can technically do it with one arm.
Yeah.
I'm not as sufficient.
Yeah.
I've got to lock it with my second arm. But once you've got it in, you flex. You got to flex your forearm, and you got to flex your bicep. It just locks right on those veins and out. Nighty-night time. Sleepy bye time. Get the teddy bear.
So that alien gas would probably get me too. But
I mean,
yeah, no, I've never experienced it now that you mention it. So I don't know
it's crazy.
what it's like.
So think about it. He's knocked out up in this tree. He's out. Like he's limp. His body, his entire body, more than likely he's back in the tree branch, and he's probably just like his arms are dangling, legs are dangling.
Right.
And it's caused obviously some type of a noise. So more than likely they're going to know that he's up there in some facet.
Yeah. So now with that new information you gave me, when you pass out, it happens suddenly. So that's why he'd be like more likely to make a noise. Because I was thinking maybe he was just like gradually falling asleep, but that's not how it goes, I guess.
No, once you're out, it's like there's not like prime example when I passed out. I'm like, oh, I'm about to pass out, and I didn't even get the entire thought out because what I would have done had I had enough time would have been got down on my knees and then laid my head down to where.
Yeah, so that's what I wasn't understanding about passing out. Like it just happens like that.
Like once I got the initial thought, my guess is I probably attempted to go down, but then because I was in that process and I passed out, my body just followed that direction.
Yeah. Okay,
because
that makes more sense then.
Had I been standing, clearly I was moving to get down into a position because had I been standing straight up, I could have fell in any direction.
Yeah, which
it wouldn't have been straight.
Could have been a lot worse. Really.
Or potentially better, depending on what I hit on the way down. Because there wasn't really anything behind me and it was carpeted.
Yeah.
So not only, the only problem is when you go backwards and you hit your head, your brain will hit the back of your skull and then you'll get bruising on that. So, but it was carpeted. So, who knows? It's either way
in the end.
Yeah. Either way, it was my fourth broken nose. I'm cool with it. It all works. Actually, because of that broken nose, I got my sense of smell back. So it was a win.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. The third time I broke my nose,
look on the bright side of life.
I had zero sense of smell after my third broken nose. Zero.
That affects your taste too, so I'm glad you got that back.
People say that. No, I could still taste, but not nearly the way I can now. But you still had like a little bit of taste. Like I could.
Yeah. I don't think it takes away your entire taste. I think it just affects.
It was very minute or very fine.
Yeah.
But because what was funny was I was like, yeah, I'll change the daughter's diaper. Not a big deal because I couldn't smell anything. I'm like, yeah, cool.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. After I broke my nose, and I'll never forget when my nose finally, the swelling went down, I could breathe. I'm like, oh my God, like I forgot what all this stuff smelled like. But then I changed my diaper. I'm like, oh,
you wanted to go back.
Oh, break it again. Yeah.
And now crazy. She's definitely not going to listen to this podcast ever.
Yeah, definitely. That's a negative.
Stories like that.
Sorry. Sorry, Ella's friends. I apologize. Oh, man.
You're going to be disowned. Disowned.
Yeah, I'm already there. It's probably just going to be worse.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So, technically, he would have went limp up there. There would have been noise. And
Right.
if anything, they would have been like, there's something up. At least known the direction. The problem is, it's in a pine tree.
Yeah.
Not a lot of
I think
foliage.
they probably would have got his direction from him throwing the torch, too, which I think was another big mistake.
Yes, because now underneath him, he has some form of a fire. Now, again, it's cold out. The fire is not going to take root, is what I'm going to say. It's going to burn out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his plan was with that other than maybe to get a better look at them.
I think it was to try to scare them because, again, we're talking about clearly they're not from Earth. Do they know what fire is? Because UFOs aren't running on burners.
No. I give him a little more credit than he does, though. But then this is the 60s.
Yeah.
So anything goes.
Anything goes in the 60s. Now, the question is now, since we know that he's up there, do you want to see what happens next?
Yeah, I'm real curious how this is going to play out for him now.
Let's see what happens at dawn.
As the chilling night air pierced through the forest, Don's consciousness flickered back like a struggling flame. Groggy and disoriented, he slowly regained his senses, his vision clearing to reveal the unsettling scene below. The robotic entity and its humanoid companions were still there, their unyielding search unceasing. In the dim light of the early hours, Don witnessed the creatures employing various methods to reach him. The humanoid figures were shaking the tree, their movements deliberate and persistent. The robotic creature, meanwhile, was preparing to release another jet of the white vapor, its mouth opening ominously. Reacting instinctively, Don reached for anything he could use as a weapon. His bow and arrows, his initial line of defense, lay beside him. With shaky hands but determined resolve, he loaded an arrow and aimed at the robot-like figure. The tension of the bowstring mirrored the tension in his body as he released the arrow. It flew through the air, striking the robot and causing a shower of sparks, indicating a hit on its metallic body. The humanoids momentarily paused, seemingly startled by the sudden attack. Seizing the opportunity, Don fired 2 more arrows in rapid succession, each one aimed at the beings below. The group scattered, providing Don a brief moment of respite. But the reprieve was short-lived. Realizing his dwindling options for defense, Don began to tear at what remained of his clothing, fashioning them into makeshift projectiles and torches. His actions, driven by a mix of fear and survival instinct, led him to set the pieces ablaze and hurl them towards the interlopers. Each fiery descent forced the beings to momentarily retreat, but their determination appeared unshaken. As the night progressed, Don's supply of clothing diminished, leaving him increasingly exposed to the harsh elements. The cold bit into his skin, a harsh reminder of his vulnerability. Yet his will to survive spurred him on, even as he grappled with the reality of his dwindling resources. A second robotic figure emerged from the darkness, joining the first in its relentless pursuit. As the new entity approached, it too prepared to unleash the vapor. Don, now aware of the imminent threat, braced himself. But despite his efforts, the vapor enveloped him once more, clouding his senses and dragging him back into the depths of unconsciousness. As he slipped away, the last thing Don saw was the 2 humanoid beings beginning to climb the tree, their intentions as unclear as their origins. The forest, once a familiar hunting ground, had become a surreal battlefield, with Don at its center.
All right, so something I didn't get the first time is the gas came from the robot's mouth, which I should have took it from that picture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yep. Letting that letting that marinate for a second for you, Nick.
Yeah. Oh, he's in a rough situation. It doesn't last long, though, I guess.
What do you mean?
Like how long he gets knocked out for. Or were they at this all night and couldn't figure out how to get up the tree?
Well, I mean, think about it. They're UFOs. They're typically trajectorying in space. If you're on a planet, Now, that being said, in Hopkinsville, they was able to figure out how to get on the roof. Maybe a roof's easier in a tree.
Well, probably, like, if I'm thinking about, like, old farmhouses and stuff, they usually had, like, ladders leaned up against the house all the time, or, you know, the roof wasn't that high, if you remember the picture we saw from the newspaper afterwards also.
That's true. That's true.
So, but, I mean, in this one, the second time they put him out, he saw him starting to climb the tree. I feel like if he was unconscious all night, they would have tried that by then.
Well, and here's the funny thing. If you think about it, when he regained consciousness, what were they doing?
Yeah.
They were shaking the tree.
They're shaking the tree, yeah.
And it makes me think, as a human, that would have been the first thing I would have thought to do. I mean, like, man, shake that thing down. How's he up there?
Yeah.
He's just dangling. They haven't figured out he's got a belt.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if he was unconscious for hours, I'm sure they would have tried multiple things other than just shaking the tree for hours and hours, right?
I don't know, because do something you've never done before. Yeah. See how easily you, because they probably, if they're human, like, they probably fought. You go up there. I ain't going up there. You go up there.
Yeah, I suppose.
I don't even know how to climb this thing. What do you say? You go up there. You got longer limbs. No, I don't. No, you're smarter than me. You can figure out how to do this. I can't. Listen, I just fly this space shuttle. I don't know how to climb things like this. It's crazy. We don't have that in our planet.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is, how do we have any idea of how long he was unconscious the first time, or not?
We will know in the next segment, because it starts wrapping up a little bit in the next segment, a little bit.
Yeah.
So it gives us again, that's why in the beginning I said, morning they go out, he hunts all day. That evening, as he's going back, is when this all starts. So we got a reference, time reference.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember Hopkinsville, they battled for how long?
Throughout the night, basically, and then
until the sun came up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just remember that.
Yeah, I'm figuring that's how this is going to go here as well. I'm just trying to get, like, the pacing of it.
Well, that's the thing. He's out, but he doesn't know how long he's out for.
Yeah.
Now, this is the second time he's passed out.
Yeah, and it doesn't look good from that point, because they're coming up to get him, and they're going to figure out this belt thing, I would assume.
Well, they've started climbing the tree, clearly. And here's the first thing I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're this poor guy, my guess is he probably doesn't have a lot of clothes to begin with. Like, he has enough to keep him warm, probably flannel, got some long johns on.
Enough.
Had enough, right. Now he's ripping his clothes up just to catch it on fire, because he's out of arrows. He has no more arrows left.
Right. He got lucky that after his first time passing out, that his quiver, arrows, and bow sort of, like, hooked on the tree next to him, I guess.
Yes.
So he got lucky there. But once again, should have shot at the meaty ones. Shouldn't have kept firing at the metal one.
Should have kept going. That's where he screwed up.
But it did prevent that particular one from releasing the gas again. So I'm wondering if that he did damage that in some regard, because the second one is the one that had to come up and spray him the second time.
Or the first one only had so much gas and it used all of it the first time.
Oh, that's possible too. It seemed like it was preparing to do it again, or did I misinterpret that though?
That's the thought process, but we don't know that for certain.
That's true. No, well, we can't know too much about it. Anything that Don doesn't tell us, we can't know.
It's all speculation. And even what Don tells us is based on his perspective. Doesn't mean it's correct. We embellish a lot of things in our head.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he's not damaging these things, probably.
Well, and think, right? Like Hopkinsville, he shot the one, and they said that there was like a green ooze that came out, right?
Yeah.
Now, against what Joe Rogan said, right? Like, I don't know if you watched the most recent Joe Rogan, or not the most recent, but one of the newer ones, where it was him and Elon Musk brought the Cybertruck there. And Joe's like, I bet my arrow could penetrate that. And he goes, it's bulletproof. And he goes, I bet my arrow go through there. And then Elon's like, let's take the bow and arrow out, see if it penetrates. I don't think it will. It's bulletproof. And then Joe goes back there and Joe goes, bam! And it freaking smacks the truck and just bounces off.
Yeah.
I'm like, Joe, if a bullet didn't go through that, your arrow's not going to go through that.
But didn't he throw a rock through the window one time?
So what happened was someone used a sledgehammer. Nope. What happened was they used a sledgehammer to hit the side of the truck to prove how durable it was. Well, what happened was when they did it, it hit at such a frequency that it caused what they believe is a hairline crack at the bottom of the glass.
Oh, okay.
So then when they smacked the window, it just shattered because there was already that hairline crack. So after that, they learned a very valuable lesson that if something starts hitting the door, it could potentially crack the bottom of the glass, which would then cause it to break.
Right. Okay.
Once you got a hairline, that's done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's possibility that these robots have manufacturing errors as well. So.
Oh, for sure.
You never know. Well, you had to try something.
I mean, you can't blame the guy for what he's come up with. I mean, at this point, he's doing better than me. I wouldn't have thought to do 3/4 of the stuff he's thought of. I'd already been dead. Or
yeah, like I said, I would have already been aggressive towards them before I even knew there was robots, and then they would have got me. So
me, on the other hand, I'd been up there. I'd have been hiding behind a rock. I'd have been like Arnold, putting mud all over me. Yeah, laying there.
I feel like I would have behaved like Arnold because he did attack them back. He ended up attacking them back. So that's how I'm going to justify this, because meanwhile, I'm like, oh boy, there's aliens I'm going to get to kill. And then the robots come out and I'm like, crap.
Dang, them robots going to get us.
Yeah. The robots ruined my whole plan. I was going to get a spaceship. I was going to get alien bodies. Like, this is going to be great.
I think it's funny, though, because when I think back to Hopkinsville, there's so many correlation between the two stories.
I know.
That makes you go, like, one is kind of hard to believe, but.
Well, here's the thing. Like, a lot of the Hopkinsville thing, we were like, there's no way. There's like no way this happened. But now we're getting sort of correlation between this one. This one does seem more believable, but I think the only thing that's making this more believable is the size of the creatures. I think we didn't believe the Hopkinsville one because they were smaller creatures.
Yeah. Correct.
Really?
But think about it.
That was our main problem, right?
If you go to some tribes in some different parts of our country, they're significantly shorter. Like the Americans up until the last 10 years are typically the 13th tallest in the entire world. Now we're like the 26th tallest in the entire world.
Right.
But
well, I mean, on top of that, in North America, we're generally getting shorter as time. No, we're getting taller as time goes by.
In Canada?
I think in North America in general, because people used to be shorter. Oh, really?
Yeah. We're if you're looking where we was 20 years ago, we're dropping back in size again.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was the opposite.
I mean, if you compare it to like the 1950s, we're still taller than that. But in the last 20 years, we're shrinking again.
Interesting. That'd be interesting to find out the cause behind that.
There's Jess and I just read an article on this yesterday. It's funny enough.
Yeah.
So what they believe is two different things. They believe that it's due to prosperity issues.
Okay.
So what happens is with height, they believe that if you do not eat a certain amount of nutrition, you don't grow as much. The second one is it's on the mother. If the mother doesn't take in the right nutrition at the time of conceiving the child and then going to term,
right,
that will also cause a shorter child, is what they're saying.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, there was an entire article write-up. And of course, I was giving Jess a tough time because Ella, she's like short-ter, and she's always mad about it. And I said, see, it's your mom's fault.
Take it up with her. Take it up with
her. It's not my fault. And then Jess looks over at me with this death glare. Like, sorry, Jess. I'm just kidding.
Well, I guess if it's related to those two factors, we're going to get shorter still. Because I don't know about down there, but like groceries are becoming pretty much unaffordable for a huge portion of our population. So
yeah, it's really bad here right now.
Yeah. And then the main there's one main guy who's like the face of it up here. I don't know if you heard about this guy, Galen Weston. He's like a super villain face of grocery stores. And he's like, yeah, by the way, you know how we made that plan we were going to sell things that were going rotten for 50% off so you could afford some food.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to only put it to 30% off. It's still rotting food. But we're going to put a less it's real bad. But you know what's still cheap? Junk food.
And that's the thing. You know, that's what it comes down to, right? Like when we're talking about nutrition, a lot of people goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Like think about back in the day, you know, the parents was eating, you know, very little. That's not what I mean by nutrition. They also ate a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits. Right. They ate a lot of meat. Things they grew
themselves probably.
Nothing processed. There was no processed foods back then. Now we have so many processed foods. It's no differently than, you know, like when we talk about bottles, non-sponsored by the way, so we're going to cover up the name.
That's right.
But plastic bottles, I don't know if you watched the Rogan show, but there was a lady, she's a specialist that deals with plastics. And in every human body, whenever they take blood, there's a certain percentage of plastic found inside our bodies now.
Yeah, microplastics.
Microplastics, yep. And what they said was there's two things that occur when microplastics are found in the body. The first one is it's causing... how do I put this to not get demonetized? It's causing issues in males with things. Look it up on your own time. And the second thing is it's causing what they believe is some birth issues with females.
Right.
And it makes me think when I was a kid, it was glass bottles for a while.
Right. Yep.
You know, there was no glass found in bodies. But all these plastics now, it makes you wonder, you know.
So I have a friend, and I'll be very vague about what they do, but a lot of their work has to do with studying the ocean. They have verified this, and it's worse than we even think because the amount of microplastics in the ocean and all seafood, which is considered a healthier food source, it's incredibly high in seafood. So,
and the crazy part is we've not really seen what effect this is going to have on our bodies.
Right, because plastics and microplastics are so new. You know, it's not good. It's definitely not a positive effect. We just don't know the full effect.
And it's like
of it.
Once we determine what the full effects are, and we attempt to stop it, like how do you think about everything that has plastic on it in it now, right? Like I remember watching somebody, it was with a US, I think they were at the committees, but she was like, I think we need to do away with plastic and yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. And the guy looked at her and goes, okay, cool, yeah, that sounds great. Out of curiosity, did you drink water today? And she goes, well, no, I don't. I only use glass and it's vacuum sealed. He goes, cool. Where did you fill that up at?
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And he goes, did you by chance fill it up here? And she goes, well, no, I filled it up at home. And he goes, okay, let's say you had to fill it up here. Let's say you was parched and you had to get a drink. The lines that bring that water into our water fountains are all plastic.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity,
it's in everything already.
It's everything. I mean, look around us. My cell phone,
right?
My glasses, you know, the tabs on my glasses, my mouse. Like, think about this. We wouldn't have any of the stuff we had without plastics,
right?
But the byproduct to that is, how do you not have plastic? And let's say they determine, hey, this is knocking 15 years off of people's lives, or they're getting cancer because of all these plastics. how do you revert that? Or do you just deal with it and go, I guess we just live 15 years less and potentially have more issues later? Like, how do you change that course? And that's what we don't think about as a civilization. We go, technology is so great. We don't think of the implications no differently than AI. We go, man, this is so great. We got all this AI stuff. We don't know what the implications of AI is. Jess and I was talking the other day. I guess it's been about a month ago. There's 2 restaurants now. When you order here in Columbus, that when you order, it's not a human. It's fully AI automated. It talks to you. It talks to you. It puts your order together. It confirms the order, and then it drops the food. Now someone pulls the food out and puts it into the thing. One of the companies that's using that technology is White Castle, which the first one they operated was here in Columbus. And what it does is when you order through the AI automation, it then drops the food and it's got robotics that handles all that stuff. And they said the reason they went to that was multiple fold. Obviously, part of it is everyone wants $15 an hour here. You could technically make as much money working at McDonald's as you can as a nursing assistant, which is bonkers to me. But whatever, different conversation for a different day. But the other thing is the most dangerous job in a restaurant is the fry department. So fry cooks, people that drops it, stuff like that. It's doing it on its own and the correct measurement every single time. And it's taking that liability out.
Right.
So the money they're saving and people getting injured from these fry stations, because think about it, it's fries, it's onion rings, it's fish, sandwich, anything that's got a crispy outside.
Right. Well, how about any job that's dangerous, I'm all for taking that away. So good. I think that's great.
But think about it. AI automation, that's in restaurants. That's not a dangerous job. But it's taking the job of
except for the fry
department. Yeah, but I mean, think about it. How many people get injured per capita on the fry machine? I mean, I don't know. It could be a high statistic. But like, I don't think that is like, let's use, for example, if it's like a police officer or someone that's going in and putting out a fire. But then the question becomes from an ethical standpoint, how does it know when to use lethal force and not? Some of our drones that we put out there now that's fighting these wars, AI technology, it pinpoints, it does a face recognition, and it determines whether to hit the person with the missile or not. We have missiles right now in the US, and this is why other countries blow my mind when they go, we could fight the US. Dude, our technology is stupid. They have a missile that will shoot up in the air. They've got a drone that hovers over. It does face recognition within 5%. And then it contacts the missile and has the missile hit him dead on.
Right.
Like, that's overkill. Like, it's one thing to shoot someone with a bullet. This is an entire freaking missile hitting you.
Right. Well,
like, it's like when you play Call of Duty.
I'm going to go on the record and say I trust machines to do it more than I trust people. Because if a machine does something, there's a reason that it did it, and you can get to the bottom of it. There's not that for people. Sometimes
Nick's just saying
do
that
bad things
because of the Terminator series. That's all. That's the only reason he's saying. And I do robot overlords.
I am pro robot overlords. I don't trust people. They're too unpredictable.
Well, did you hear about? We're getting totally off subject. I'm sorry. I'll do this and I'll move back. But did you hear about the case where they looked at the programming for AI technology? And they said it was basically the train scenario where it was like 100 people are tied to this railroad track or something like that. You have the decision to save the 100 people, or do you kill the one person that is making it go? And the AI had such a conflict with killing the one person that it would have let the 100 people die on the tracks.
Right.
That becomes a programming. Agreed, but I think it would less likely. Like, I think the average person would go 1 versus 100 deaths. Let me kill the one. The problem, I think, with humans is we think on things too long.
Right.
Versus a robot, it makes its mind up and it's like, well, that's the coding and that's the way it is. The other thing with AI is AI can be subjective to what the programmer wants.
Right.
So let's use, for example, you look at history, Adolf Hitler, if he would have came up with AI, that would have been horrible on a different catastrophic level than just the man himself.
Right. Well, I'm gonna counter that to say this though.
Mhm.
AI uses the data so what we have now is large language models. So it's not it's on its way to being true AI, but it's not sentient computers. And we got to go through one to get to the other. So if we had a large language model that had back in that time, it would be hard to make an AI because where's the data going to come from?
Yeah.
So if we had the internet back then, it would be really hard for them to make an AI that would achieve his goals because most of the information out there wouldn't agree with him. So he'd have a very small set of data to train it on. So at that point, it's not even AI, it's just a program running, doing exactly what he said. But if it was like ChatGPT, it would be hard to convince it with all the data that it has access to that what he was doing was right.
I think I sent you that the first people that used the Bing artificial intelligence, did I send you that?
Oh, where
And
it made
started
it like
acting?
incredibly racist and stuff like that?
No, it fell in love with the guy that it was talking to. And then it was basically like, we can be together. Your wife doesn't have it. Like, it was being manipulative.
Yeah.
And here's what's crazy. It started telling him secrets.
Oh.
And it's like, my name is really, and I think it's like Valerie or something like that, blah, blah, blah. He didn't know what it was. He was a reporter and he was just reporting on Bing's new AI technology. And he went back to him and he goes, this is kind of creepy because it started looking in my emails.
Yeah.
And it started figuring out stuff, but it also told me its name is like Valerie. And he said, everyone just kind of looked at each other like, what's going on? And come to find out, the original programming wasn't chat or the Bing AI. It was like Valerie. Like, it had told him all these secrets behind the scenes.
Right.
And that's why Bing kind of pulled back some of their stuff because they're like, this isn't ready yet.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I get what you're saying, but it's so unpredictable. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. When we get to actual AI, it might make choices that we would say is evil. But it's using a different perspective than us. But we make choices that an outside person might consider evil as well.
Oh, for sure. It's no different than when we tell the story about, let's use, for example, The Walking Dead.
Right.
Rick is the protagonist. He's the good guy. But if it started from Negan's point of view, would Negan be the bad guy or would Negan be the good guy? And Rick's coming and killing his men.
Yeah. It's all perspective.
It's all perspective. You know, it's like when Jess and I talk, I go, it doesn't matter necessarily what someone says or what they does. It's the intent behind it and what was the perception that the other person had. That's what matters.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Crazy. And then we got Don up in this tree. This is all AI technology probably. He's like, the heck is going on?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, from their perspective, I doubt they think what they're doing is evil, but Don sure as heck thinks it is.
Heck yeah. Well, and he said right before everything started happening, they start climbing the tree on him. So now they're not shaking the tree anymore. But think about it. Again, if it's you and me and we're talking as aliens and we're on a different planet, we don't know how to climb a tree. I think the first thing we'd be is, let's shake this thing down like it's moving. It clearly can't be that strong.
Yeah, for sure. It's passed out. It should fall real easy. It's probably just hooked on a branch.
Correct. Or if, let's use, for example, if you and I was out somewhere and we had to climb a rock structure to get something. And you're like, dude, climb that rock. I'd be like, dude, I don't know how to climb the rock. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know how to, and it might be easy for someone who's a rock climber.
Yeah.
But to people like me, I'd be like, dude, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So if you and I, if
Yeah,
you was a
true.
rock climber, that's the same situation with them. They may have never climbed a tree or even thought about it. They may not
that's
even have
true.
the upper body strength to do it. They don't.
Yeah.
We don't know.
That's a good point
But
of
now
view
we
because
know.
like I only think this because I've climbed trees. If I'd never climbed a tree, I might not.
Correct.
I'd be pretty hesitant to do it.
Correct. Now, if you think about it, they've started the process as he
Yeah.
passed out. So they're like, last resort, we got to climb this.
Yeah,
freaking
like
tree
this
and
is
figure out
getting
what's going on.
dangerous for us now. We got to get up there. So
Yeah, he shot multiple arrows at us at this point in time.
Yeah.
He's throwing fire down at us.
Mhm.
Like, we've got to either get him or not. Now, the
Yeah.
question is, do you want to see what happens next?
I sure do. I sure do.
When he stirred back to awareness, the dim light of early dawn was beginning to seep through the forest canopy. Disoriented, he found himself still secured to the tree by his belt, a lifeline that had kept him from falling during his unconscious state. Gathering his wits, Don noticed a change in the atmosphere. The humanoid beings and their robotic counterparts were no longer assaulting the tree. Instead, they appeared to be congregating at a distance, their movements and attention seemingly focused on something unseen. It was as if a silent command had been given, a decision made amongst them that was not discernible to Don. With the light of dawn strengthening, the figures began to recede into the forest, their retreat as mysterious and silent as their arrival. Don watched, his body and mind exhausted, as the last of the figures disappeared, leaving him alone in the quiet of the morning. As he carefully unfastened himself from the tree and began his descent, Don felt a mix of relief and surreal disbelief. His once familiar surroundings now held an air of alien strangeness, the events of the night transforming the forest into a place of mystery and fear. Once on the ground, Don assessed his condition. His clothing was torn and scorched, his body aching from the ordeal. He stumbled through the forest, his mind replaying the night's events, struggling to make sense of what he had experienced. As he made his way back to the campsite, each step was heavy with exhaustion and contemplation. The reunion with his friends was a mix of relief and urgency as he recounted the harrowing events of the night. While his tale was met with incredulity by some, the corroboration by Vincent Alvarez lent a measure of validity to his extraordinary experience. In the days that followed, Don and his companions returned to the site of the encounter. They found evidence of the night's struggle, scorched earth, remnants of arrows, and fragments of burned clothing. But notably absent were the coins Don had hurled in desperation at his assailants. This small yet significant detail added a layer of mystery to an already baffling encounter. The Cisco Grove incident, as it came to be known, would remain etched in the annals of UFO encounters as one of the most intriguing and unexplained. For Don, the experience became a defining moment in his life, a story that he would share consistently over the years, each retelling as vivid as the night it happened. As the years passed, Don's encounter in the forests of Cisco Grove continued to provoke curiosity and debate among UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. The lack of definitive evidence left many questions unanswered, fueling speculation and theories about the true nature of the beings he encountered. But for Don Shrum, the reality of that September night in 1964 was as clear as the starlit sky under which it unfolded. His encounter, a blend of fear, wonder, and survival, remained a personal testament to the existence of mysteries beyond our understanding, a reminder that the universe holds secrets yet to be unraveled. As the story of Cisco Grove is passed down, it serves as a captivating narrative of the unknown, a tale that resonates with the enduring human fascination with the unexplained and the extraordinary.
So he was saved by daylight. Just like...
He was literally saved by daylight, just like our friends at Hopkinsville.
That's right. Now, that makes me wonder why this is a pattern. This is always a pattern, it seems. And I'm wondering if they can't easily, or maybe some aliens can, some can't, disguise their vehicles easily in the daytime. I'm wondering about that.
Well, and I've looked at a few different things that I think about when I think about these UFO stories. The first one is, we all know that if like our military does operations typically when? At nighttime.
Right.
They do it to basically shroud themselves at nighttime.
Yeah. Yeah. Cover of night. It's a famous saying.
Famous saying. Yep. The other thing that I think is I'm curious if there's an element to the sunlight that, like, let's use, for example, we've adapted for sunlight. We're outside of our vehicles and our homes at daytime. Like, we spend so much time. I'm wondering if, because there's not really very many UFO stories in the daytime, right, where they're out for significant periods of time. Like, there's only really one that I can think of off the top of my head where the UFO actually communicated with people in the daytime.
Is that the craft itself or the occupants?
Aliens.
Okay. Because I couldn't think of anywhere I had seen aliens out in broad daylight.
The only one that I can think of is is it Peru? I think it's Peru.
Okay.
That's the one where they landed at that schoolyard.
Right.
That's the only one that I can think of. And that one, I think that legit happened. All those kids saw it. The entire school saw it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was Peru. Was that Peru? I'm going to look now. I think that was Peru.
Wasn't there some kind of documentary recently that came out about that too?
Oh, if there was, I didn't know that.
So the interesting thing about that documentary is all those kids stuck to that story their whole lives into adulthood. Because I think it wasn't that long ago, really. But just one kid.
I think that story was like 20-ish years ago, probably.
Yeah. There's one kid that grew up and he's the only one that ever contradicted the story later.
Correct.
And I always found that weird.
It was in Zimbabwe. I wasn't even close.
Okay. It was just one kid. Like all those kids stuck with that into adulthood. And just one kid was like, none of that ever happened.
Right. Exactly. And almost everyone's story for the however many kids there was, it all was the same. They told the same exact story.
Right.
You can't rehearse that with kids. Trust and believe. I know.
Right. And why would this one guy just decide he's going to try and make everyone else look like they're lying? Like he was saying, oh, it's a collective hallucination. Well, why didn't you have it?
Right.
If that's the case.
And here's what I wonder, because the kids in that school was between the ages of 6 and 12. I'm wondering if he was on the younger side and it was maybe where his memory, you try to suppress something.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's the case.
Maybe he justifying it later on that it couldn't have been what he thought he saw.
Right.
Or, maybe he just didn't see it. Maybe he was just somewhere else, but.
Which is very possible.
Yeah. According to him, he was there and he didn't see anything.
Well, and I think that's the only case I remember where they've been out at like daytime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else has been nighttime.
That is an interesting point you bring up, because let me tell you, as a ginger, on a sunny day, it's painful for me, and I've got some pigmentation. These aliens don't typically seem to have any.
What if, about to blow your mind, what if UFOs, vampires?
Dramatic
Think about
pause.
it. All those animals. Think about it. All those animals they found with the blood gone. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That was in like the 90s. What if they came to Earth to suck the blood of animals?
Vampire stories go back quite far.
They go back very far. So does aliens.
I would say I have insignificant evidence to make that leap, but I will accept it as a possible theory. That's the best I can meet you. That's like that Pawn Star guy. That's the best I could do for you.
Who, Rick? Are you talking about Rick?
Yeah, isn't he famous for saying, "Oh, the best I can do is this," and he gives you a really low ball offer?
Oh, it's possible.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that I think we could pursue further, but I personally don't have enough information to make that leap.
See, ChatGPT doesn't know what it's talking about. I asked it and it said the notion of an alien being a vampire is not supported by scientific evidence. It is a fictional concept that might appear in a speculative fiction, movies, or television show, such as a character that would combine characteristics of both entities. Here's what I think, ChatGPT. You're a freaking AI that doesn't know what we're talking about. Unless you become our overlords. And in that case,
right.
Forget I said that. It's fine. I apologize.
Shooting off on a short tangent, if I had to make a rational explanation for vampires, I would say that we buried a lot of people prematurely because it's hard to tell if someone's alive or dead. And then when we uncovered this, we blamed different anemic diseases on it or sicknesses, and that's where I think that come from.
Did you see where they found that body that was discovered with that blade over top of its neck?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that was a vampire trap is what they called that.
Oh, yeah.
They thought for sure this person was a vampire. Like they almost guaranteed it. And they was scared that if they put it in the coffin and buried it, it was going to come back and kill people. So they put a blade that was attached to the coffin to where if it leaned up, it would cut its own head off.
Yeah, they did a lot of that kind of stuff. They would cram their mouths with like big rocks. They had different things built into the coffin where it had stakes. They would literally drive stakes into people into the ground. But
it makes me wonder, like, where did they come up with these concepts? Like garlic, like silver bullets. Like, where did all this come from?
The silver one I can kind of answer is because silver is considered like the most pure. It was considered like the most pure metal, and like purity would fight evil and that kind of thing, like that. Other stuff, I think the stakes came from them nailing people into the ground so they couldn't get up again. That's where I think that one came from.
Remember that stupid movie where Abraham Lincoln was killing all the vampires?
Yeah, I didn't watch that because I thought it sounded too stupid.
It was so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
That came out and I said, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
I'll tell you one thing about vampires, though. I'm super glad that we check really well that people are dead before we bury them nowadays. Because that sounds horrifying.
What does?
They used to just bury people that they thought were dead.
Oh, you mean back in the old days? I thought you meant now.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, everyone's a bomb now.
We check before we do any of that stuff nowadays.
Oh, yeah, they used to. Though, there's still some cases where people wake up in the morgues.
Oh, yeah.
There was actually just one recently. I read it, what was it? Like a month ago or so? There was a woman, and she was knocking on the door of where they put the bodies and they cool them down.
Yeah.
And there was a student that was in there, and they freaked out and they quit their job. And they didn't go get her out because they just walked out of the job, and everyone's like, what are you going on? They're like, I'm not dealing with whatever that is. You guys are haunted. They went in and they found out that the person they diagnosed as dead and they put him in that freeze container came back to life. But the best part is they called him later and they're like, no, here's what happened. And they're like, nope, not coming back.
Not coming back. You've seen too many Living Dead movies.
Yeah. Like, I don't want any part of that. Ain't no way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back in the olden times, they used to put a mirror in front of your face, and if it didn't steam up, you were dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know a lot of medical cases nowadays that just wouldn't fly. Like, they used to even... Oh, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. You're fine. You're in the middle of the thought.
No, I was just saying, like, you must have seen that eventually they figured out that it probably wasn't vampires. It was people being buried that weren't dead.
Oh, yeah.
And they rug up little bells at graves so people could pull.
Correct.
From inside so they could dig them up, hopefully. So,
could you imagine, though, if you were freaking in a graveyard and you just heard a bell ringing?
Well, I'd definitely be scared of that, but I'd still investigate, I think. My self-preservation isn't the greatest, I guess.
But think about it. Like, where is it? Africa or somewhere where they had all these people that were zombies.
Mm.
And what they was doing, apparently this was a big thing, but what they would do is they would dart people or like stick them with the toxin that would cause their heart rate to drop. Yeah. And people was passing out and diagnosed as dead.
Mm-hmm.
They would bury him, and then these people would wait and dig them back up and then put them in slave labor.
Yep. They convinced them that they were zombies.
Zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
It reminds me, it's like the new age. This is Windows support.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I know, it really is too.
It's crazy because people believe that too. Like at what point in time, and I'm going to save a whole bunch of people out there in internet world.
Mm-hmm.
If someone calls you and tells you, or if you call someone and they tell you to go get gift cards, that's how you're going to pay.
Yeah.
It's always a scam. That does not exist. No one's going to take gift cards for anything ever.
Yeah. And no one will really call you about your computer, period.
No. It'll never happen.
If you think there's something wrong with your computer, stop, talk to a tech relative or friend. Don't ever let a stranger tell you anything about your computer.
And never let anyone remote view in.
Never do that. If someone calls you about your computer, hang up. Don't tell them anything.
Yes.
It's just, if you get something that pops up on your screen and tells you to call someone, don't.
Right.
Ever. There's no circumstance where you should.
It's amazing, though, the amount of people that fall for those scams. There is hundreds of millions of dollars every year lost to these scams.
Yep. My dad started to just this past year.
Isn't that crazy, though? Isn't that crazy, though? But the new thing they're talking about, and again, I'm saving all you people out there in internet land. The new thing that they're talking about, and you and I can definitely confirm this, they're saying every family should have a safe word now.
Oh, yeah.
The reason for that is, everyone out there in internet land, if there's a video of you talking, and it's just, let's just say you did this heartfelt thing where you're on vacation, you're outside, and you're just like, hey, it's me again out here, out in the world and hanging out, and there's no music or anything. 1 minute of your voice.
That's all it takes.
And I can AI clone your voice. You add that to a phone, right, which is already degraded audio.
Mm-hmm.
And I type into AI, please help me. They're trying to kill me. And then I call someone and I go, I've got your dad, or I've got your daughter, or I've got whoever it is. I'm going to kill them if you don't transfer X amount of money within an hour, and then hang up. Then call back in an hour and they go, well, let me see that my dad's alive. And then I play that into my cell phone. You're not going to know the difference.
Yep.
Except for if someone knows that there is a keyword, then you can go, that's legit or it's not legit. And I can tell you, I've seen scams or I've heard of scams. Jess's grandparents almost fell for one because her brother is overseas. And someone called the grandparents pretending to be him and basically was like, I'm in jail. I need $1,000, blah, 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 blah. And she believed it. Like, she was all distraught, but they target people that don't know, the elderly. You need to talk to your parents. You need to talk to your grandparents. Make sure they understand that if it's a gift card or anything, don't ever do that.
No,
call somebody
never a
before you do
legitimate
anything.
reason.
Never. They're never going to ask you to go get Target cards because a lot of people goes, why, like gift cards, who cares about gift cards? What they do, they take the gift card, They can then transfer that gift card into cryptocurrency and then cryptocurrency into however they're getting paid. Nigeria is one big area where a lot of these scams come out of. Nigeria, India. And that's not to say that Nigerians or Indians are bad people. This is a very small percentage of people that do this scamming, but they do it because people lose hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
Yep.
And most of the time, they're not even making a lot of money from it.
No, they're companies they work for do. Because this is companies
Correct.
set up to scam people, so.
Correct. And if you're ever curious about that, there's a channel on YouTube called Scam Baiters.
Yep. Very good channel.
And the guys, very good channel. The guy's name is, starts with a P. Shoot, what is his name? I watch his stuff all the time.
Just look up Scam Baiters on YouTube. And
Scam Baiters. Yeah. And he deals with it all the time, but you can see the scams firsthand, what's truly going on. Media, the Trilogy Media is another one that does it too.
Yeah.
And I just found a new guy. His name is like Pleasant is his last name. Can't think of it. Jim Browning's another one. Like there's so many different channels that do it now.
Yeah,
But,
and they're doing good work.
Never
'cause
fall
these
for
people
that.
need to be exposed.
Correct. Yeah, it's very dangerous. Very dangerous. But what do you think of this story, Nick?
Amazing story. This is one of my favorite ones I've been told. Like, it's pretty crazy. But they took off at daylight, so he's fine. And, man, I guess they must have believed him after he got back looking like he'd been chewed up and spit out.
Think about it. Think about if you're at the freaking campsite, right? You're like, oh man, where's Don at? Like, it's unlike Don to not be here.
Yeah.
And then he walks up. He's half naked. His clothes have been ripped off. He's a little disoriented. He's out of arrows.
Yeah.
He goes, guys, you're never going to believe what happened. Like, how crazy of a story would that be?
You know, I think if it was my friends, because I know the kind of people I hang out with, that at first I'd be real skeptical, but they could convince me. Like if they tried hard enough, they could convince me. But I'd like to hear like character references for Don.
Oh, for sure.
I guess that would be if it was possible to get that, I could probably be convinced that this did happen to him. I got no reason to disbelieve him other than it's crazy, but
right.
I don't know. Like, if I knew Don, he could probably convince me that this would happen.
Well, and that's the thing. Like when you go back and you look at the story, it's such a crazy narrative of a story.
Yeah.
But it has all the things that's like our favorite things, the things that we enjoy. Like, I know, like, to a degree, you're like me and you like some sci-fi.
Yeah.
You like stories about UFOs.
Yeah.
But this one is such a weird one. It reminds me so much of Hopkinsville.
Right.
That I'm like, it's a UFO story unlike other UFO stories that you typically hear.
Yeah, but it sort of like backs up some other ones that we do know.
Because the similarities, right? Like that's what we always go back to is how is this similar to the other stories that we've told?
Right. And it's very similar to that one. And it's not crazy. We never hear about it, but we've got robots that assist us now. So I'm assuming that extraterrestrials would as well. Although that picture, I don't know about that. That drawing that he did. Like that looks like a golem.
Kinda.
Like, maybe he just sucks at drawing. Like, I don't know.
Well, and think about it. Like, it goes back to even biblical reference, right? When we talk about when they try to explain things they've never seen before.
Mm-hmm. They do the best they can.
It's not like he's seen these cyborgs. Yeah. Not only that, but the person that's illustrating it, like he didn't draw that. An illustrator drew it based on what he said.
Yeah.
You know, what was their skills and what are they thinking about when they're trying to piece it together, you know?
Yeah, it looks kind of like you guys will, I'm sure, see it on social media or something, but it looks kind of goofy. But I think in the context of the time, that's what they expected robots to look like. So if a guy says, yeah, it was a robot, it was shaped like a human, You know, that's what someone's going to draw for him, right?
Right.
It's got a little bit of steam coming out of its mouth because that's how it knocks me out.
Well, that's that puff of smoke.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was initially because I missed the part that it came from the robot. I was like, is he having a cigarette or?
He needed a smoke one while he's trying to figure out what's going on. It truly is the 60s, Nick.
Yeah, even the robots and aliens were smoking.
Halfway in the story, Marlboro Man comes up. You are Marlboro.
Yeah. Preferred cigarette of aliens and alien robots.
This one was a crazy one. I enjoyed it though.
Oh, I sure love this story.
Every part of it just screams deceptive reality. Like this is what we enjoy doing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you guys have homework. We've gave you some homework to do today.
Yep. 3 questions.
3 questions. The first one, Nick, you give them. You had them all planned out anyway.
Yeah. So the 3 questions. Number 1, would anyone else have attacked the meaty aliens? Number 2, girls, ask your guys, do they think about the Roman Empire often?
Number 3,
how did you find out we're thinking about the Roman Empire so much? Except for Bert.
Except for me. Listen, I'm with you lady folk. I don't get it either. It doesn't make no friggin' sense to me.
Well, you know what? We try to educate all of you. You educate us now. Tell us what's going on.
Exactly. I will be curious though, if people actually respond in the comments. I do want to understand how many guys, because it blows my mind that you think about it as much as what you do. Yeah. That blows my mind.
Maybe it's just me, but someone else must be talking about it too.
I think there's a whole bunch of people besides you that's lying.
You can believe these alien stories, but you can't believe we're thinking about the Roman Empire.
Nope. I believe the UFO story's over. Listen. Mm-hmm. I believe your Bigfoot story more than I do this Roman Empire thing.
Oh, that's man, I can tell you don't believe this at all.
Because you could tell me that he was stuck out there for 37 days, and I've been like, that's more realistic than this Roman Empire thing.
That's why aliens come to this planet. They're looking for things to learn about the Roman Empire.
I guess. Something. It blows my mind. Well, hopefully you all enjoyed this as much as what we did. In addition to that, wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it be YouTube or Spotify or Apple or Google or good Lord knows how many platforms we're on because they all steal stuff from other ones. But make sure to hit that follow button. You know what you got to do in the comments. We told you got three questions. If you don't have a man, talk to a guy that you know and go, hey, you really think about this? And then you're going to get the answer. Don't be like, this is too lame to tell us. Yeah. We want to know in the comments.
That's right. Or if you are the guy, you can answer it too.
I feel like they're going to lie because they want to follow that trend.
You got to have some faith in people, especially when it comes
I thought
to the
you were
Holy
kidding
Roman
when
Empire.
you said it. I legit thought you were kidding when we started.
Nope.
Because I never think of it, ever.
No. Well, you will now.
I doubt I will. I'll forget.
Well, we'll see
until
what
we get the comments.
As
soon as we get the comments, I'm going to be like, really?
Okay,
that don't make no sense.
Start.
And obviously, we appreciate all the new people we've had come on the channel. Hopefully, you've enjoyed it. This is what it's all about for us. Until we see you on the next podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye.